Was the friction of the old ways actually better, or are we just romanticizing it? I asked this question because I recently watched another one of the physical media people who said that spending days tracking down an old Godfather Blu-ray made it more exciting than just clicking rent on a digital store page. But before we examine whether the friction is actually good or just a complete waste or a novelty at best, be sure to give this video a like. Comment what you think about all this, whether you personally think that the friction adds to the experience or if you agree that convenience is king. Be sure to also subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations. And last but certainly not least, feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link will be in the description below. Anyway, there are things about the friction of certain processes that people seem to like. The anticipation, the hunt, owning a copy in the case of the Godfather Blu-ray that I just talked about, and of course, nostalgia for it. So yeah, the Godfather Blu-ray guy, his reasoning for tracking down this very specific version is because he wanted to watch with the director's original intent. The original directorial intent is how he described it because he wanted the sound design that was more like what it was from 1972 when it first came out instead of the restoration mumbo jumbo, which I can respect if you enjoy that. But here's the thing, most people care more about picture quality that works on modern screens than original directorial intent. Actually, in the case of the Star Wars special editions, that was literally directorial intent. Well, at least for A New Hope, because Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, yeah, those were not directed by George Lucas, so there's that. But they were still his movies at the end of the day. He chose to add all that stuff, and frankly, a lot of it actually improved it, mostly for the sake of continuity. Like Ian McDiarmid's Palpatine and the Empire Strikes Back, Temuera Morrison voicing Boba Fett to be consistent with his casting as Jango Fett and Boba Fett being a literal clone of Jango. You get the idea. But yeah, getting back to the main point, the average person is not a diehard film student. Most people just enjoy what they enjoy, and they probably don't think as much about it as this person did. And I admit I do. I've done videos here analyzing what movies and TV reflect about culture because it generally does. If Godfather Blu-ray guy really enjoys it, I respect his decision, but that still doesn't make the convenience of just paying $4 to rent it and hitting play a bad thing. I still think it's generally a good thing that digital stores exist and you can rent almost any movie made in the past century or so. Not every single one ever. He pointed out that there were rights issues that led to no further reprints of some indie movies, which I'm sorry if you are a fan of that movie and you want more people to be able to see it. But at a certain point, things like that happen, just like discs can wear and tear by no fault of the user. But okay, I have to admit something. I'm a little bit of a hypocrite here because I do go out of my way to go up to the AMC on Saturdays now to see my Saturday movie. I get up early, I go out for breakfast, I take a train up to Boston, and then I walk all the way to the AMC of my choice. Right now it's the Boston Common. Maybe I'll try Causeway someday. I don't know. I know that I probably sound like a hypocrite when I bring that up, but here's the point I'm trying to make. Friction can be fun, but only if you choose it. I mean, I choose this, the whole process I just described, because I enjoy it. I like being able to get some fresh air and sunlight at the Boston Common and the Boston Public Garden. I talked all about how I explored the Prudential Center in Copley Place for the first time in a very long time. The last time I can actually remember going to the Prudential Center was in 2006 when I got John Ratzenberger's autograph. True story. He accused me of truancy. But yeah, I'll admit, I do all of this mostly to escape feeling crowded living with my parents. It gets in more exercise by walking around, and I make a day of it. Now, if I had my own place, I'll admit I would rent digitally for the full $20 or $25, whatever it ends up being, for the newest releases available. I would cook at home if I didn't have to deal with sharing a kitchen with other people, and I would cut friction down to near zero. I would get everything delivered, and I would only leave the house for medical appointments if I had to pay for housing out of pocket. While at least I don't have to worry about paying rent living with my parents, I do have to accept the trade off of not just having total unquestionable run of the place. And you know what? I accept that as a consequence of this situation. Still a pretty good situation. I'm very grateful for it. But there are trade offs you have to take into account. As my friend said, my sociology teacher would say, I am going to AMC and other parts of Boston and the library if I want to work on stuff and not spend money. Because I'll admit, people like Buzzkill Lightyear make me want to avoid theaters to some extent because of that. Friction can ruin experiences when it's forced. Like Buzzkill Lightyear being a hypocrite with Chatterbox Couple. And yes, I accept friction where it's necessary. Like, if I can't bring myself to reach the $30 minimum for a mobile pickup order to pick up with my parents, I'll go into the store, just like I did to buy those tissues that I had to carry around for the rest of the day last Saturday. I also accept the friction of long walks to save money, train schedules so I don't have to deal with driving and parking and such, and internet and power outages if they happen. But if I could, I would literally remove all unnecessary friction while still avoiding isolation by inviting into my living space who I want when I want. You know, I've read the 48 Laws of Power. Law 18 says that isolation is dangerous. I'm going to pull up the exact quote actually. Law 18 of the 48 Laws of Power. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. Yeah, you could apply that to the loneliness epidemic in 2025. But yeah, Robert Greene makes a good point about that, though ultimately, I would happily build a fortress and be isolated to some extent if I could. Obviously, I have to leave said fortress every now and then. If you want to call Henry's Mojo Dojo dormitorio bedroom a fortress, yes, I have to leave said fortress. And yes, isolation can be dangerous, can have its downsides. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is let people self select. If you like the hunt when it comes to hunting down a very specific type of Blu ray for a very specific version of a specific movie, or for a specific movie that isn't available in the digital stores because of rights issues, by all means, go for it. Go hunt for that very specific version of a very specific movie. What you do with your time and money is your decision, and if you're an adult of sound mind, I respect your decision, even if I don't agree with it. But hey, if you like the convenience, if you like to minimize the friction and be able to just get what you need, by all means, embrace it. Nobody loses if both options exist. Yeah, I will happily take convenience. But I get why some people like friction, or at least I respect their decision. The key here is choice. So I get to choose the friction of either dealing with my parents and not being able to just use the kitchen or bathroom whenever I damn well please, or I can choose the friction of getting up, getting on a train, going into the city, walking who knows how long, who knows how far, but eventually reaching sanctuary at AMC, or down the line, other places like the aquarium or the Museum of Science. I'd love to go to the Franklin Park Zoo, but it's a little more complicated because the closest commuter rail stop is on a different line. I'd have to wait to get on a different train. It's a whole thing. So I'm going to wrap it up here for the video on that note. You let me know in the comments what's something you prefer doing the hard way for whatever reason, and why do you stick with it instead of the easier option. Be sure to also give this video a like, subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations. And last but certainly not least, feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link will be in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.